came to realize something important today. I was thinking to myself that if I was in another country and I had to come back to France, even though it was a very long trip, like 15, 17 hours, I will feel super safe because I'm coming back to a country that I know. I know the culture, I know the language, I will know my way around, I will know how to take the transportation, I will know how to communicate with people, how they behave, and what is the culture and how I can approach people. And I was thinking to myself, it wouldn't be scary to come back. And for a very long time, I thought that traveling was scary for the logistic part of it, for landing into a place I don't know after a long trip. I came to realize that the trip is not the scary part, that my fear is an illusion I project on something. It's a value I gave to something. My fear is based on, oh my God, this is far away. This is totally unknown. But what is scary to me is the difference, is not knowing, is not being in control of a situation, is not being able to fully connect and communicate. It's the fear of not being able to trust the people around me. Being scammed is a big one. And I think we project only what we kind of experience or fear to experience. And my first backpacking experience was in India. And when I arrived, terrified, never traveled before, I arrived in New Delhi. And of course, we were scammed multiple times before we finally, I was traveling with my ex-boyfriend at the time. We got scammed many times before finally, after a time, we learned who we could trust, the culture, how to communicate, how they were behaving, the difference on a way of communicating, and we just learn our way around. And because we were moving from places to places, either every 2 or 3 days, or the longest we stayed was 3 weeks in an ashram in the north of India. But even there, we were always outside of our comfort zone. And let me tell you, I think I cried the first 10 days. Well, I cried a lot in India. I stayed 2 months. I cried probably a month and a half of it, but definitely felt terrified because of not knowing. And now I'm feeling stuck, paralyzed by fear, thinking that I want to travel, but I can't do it because it's too scary, because I don't know my way around, and my mind is taking over, thinking about logistics, thinking about how I'm gonna, get from the airport to the place I want to stay. How will I meet people? How would I make my way around? And what if something goes wrong? What if? Worst case scenario. And it's crazy the power of our minds. Because my mind is not going like, what if? It actually turns even better than what you think. best case scenario. And the truth is, it's almost madness. Because if I based my experience on the past and everything that I know for a fact, is that my entire life, everything happened best case scenarios. Even what seemed to be terrible in the moment always ended being just a sideway, just a shortcut or a long cut. But life and the universe always managed to bring me to the right places, to the right people, to the right knowledge. And this deep, deep fear of mine, that is being alone. I never experienced it. I never, ever was alone. And taking the example of India again, when I was traveling, backpacking in India, the first days I was terrified. The cultural differences, not knowing the language, not knowing how to behave, how to be, how to trust, how to make my way around, learning the cultures and learning everything. Just not knowing was super scary. And there were this time, we were in New Delhi, the most terrifying city that I experienced in India because of the density of population. I never ever experienced that before. I came from a very small town in France. Most of the population here is very old. There is not so many people around. It's a very small town near the sea. The biggest city I was in was just a tiny French city, and I was, never with too many people at the same place. And if I was in a situation with a lot of people, I knew them. I was talking the same language, quite literally, but also metaphorically. But here I am in India, in New Delhi, and I have to make my way to another city. And I just don't know. I don't know how to go to the train station. And I know I have a train that is going to bring me to that place in the Himalayas I was mentioning before. And I'm freaking out. I'm in that hostel in India. And I'm like, how on earth am I going to get to the train station that early in the morning? I think I had to leave at like 4 or 5 in the morning. And I'm freaking out. I have this app on my phone for a cab, but I don't have data. I can only use the Wi-Fi, and it's not working when you're not in the Wi-Fi, but I need to have the internet in order to have this app that is, it was not Uber, I don't remember. And here it is. At 4 a.m. in the morning, there is one guy standing at the hostel that was going to the exact same place. I was going to the train station and that already booked a taxi, and I was so happy to share it with me and my ex-boyfriend. It was like an angel for me. And it might sound so silly, right? But it showed me in the very first days that even when I was so scared and so paralyzed by fear and not knowing how on earth I'm going to get to where I want to go, it showed me that they will always be the right person at the right time, at the right place. And it always happened like this, everything in my life. Every time I was so scared of being alone or being lost, or every time there were always someone to help me. Even if the person I was talking to didn't know, they will find a way or redirect me to where I want to be or closer to my goals. But if I stay home thinking about how scary and trying to plan how I'm going to get to that fucking train station, I will never have the experience. And trust me, this guy that shared the taxi with us, I regret that I don't remember his name, but his name was something magical. And it said it all. For me, it was an angel. Really. And it was so beautiful. And we connected so deeply. And it was just one tiny story among many other of how to trust that no matter where you go and what you do, first, fears will probably always be around when there is a known situation, where you don't know, where you're not in control, where you never experienced that before. Your mind doesn't have a point of reference, so it goes into alarm mode and panic mode of like, we don't know that, why are we doing that, this is scary, don't do it. And second is to trust that you don't need a plan, you don't need to know, you don't need to be in control, because there will always be someone or something. And everything is just so perfect, and you're so divinely guided. And that is so beautiful about the human experience. And I'm recording this podcast not only to share that story and not only to inspire you to go after what you want, to go from point A to point B, knowing that it doesn't matter if you don't know how to go from point A to point B, you will find your way. Just aim for point B. Just know where you want to go. Just have a sense of, I want that. Because it's in my gut. Because it's in my heart. I want that. I don't know how I'm going to get there. I have no fucking clue. But I'm going to take one step. One tiny step at a time. I'm going to ask one question to one person. I'm going to do that research on the internet on how to do this. I'm going to book this or book that. I'm going to text that person. I'm going to get one more information. That's how you start. And there is a big saying that I love that says to climb, I'm not good at remembering beautiful quotes, but I'm good at remembering how they made me feel. There is this quote saying, if you want to climb a mountain, you will have to start by one step, or something like this. And it's just so true, right? It's just that tiny steps. And sometimes we get so paralyzed by fear that we don't even take that one first step. But every journey starts with one first tiny step. And trusting that you're divinely guided, that you will get all the support that you need, even if it's scary as fuck. Because sometimes it's going to be scary as fuck, but you are supported. And it will, to achieve anything that you truly desire, that you truly want, it will be scary. If you're not scared, well, your dreams are not big enough. Dreams are supposed to be scary. And to go after that, it's a messy journey. And we can't control it. It's out of our control. That's why it's so scary. And that's why it's so beautiful as well. Because if we knew the outcome, if we knew all the shortcuts and the long cuts and where the road is going to lead us, then it will be so boring. I made this podcast to share that with you. And also to share it with myself. To remember it deeply in my heart. Thank you so much for sharing this beautiful space with me. I am so happy to share my story and share my voice on this podcast, and I'm so honored. I am really, really honored and grateful that you took time of your precious life, of your precious day, to listen to my voice, to listen to what I have to say. So thank you so much. I deeply appreciate it. I love you so much.